So when I started teaching 11 years ago, I was a bit naive with very little formal education and experience. So when I entered the classroom the first time, it was a bit of a explore time for me. And I remember working with a student with Down syndrome, and he was cutting circles. And immediately I reached out and be like, I'll cut it for you. And he looked at me and be like, I can do it. But it was my mindset thinking that he was struggling with cutting. But when he said, I can do it, I realized it was a shortcoming on my end. And that's when, my hobby of teaching changed into a passion for advocacy and actually advocating that people of determination can do a lot more than what we think. Sometimes we focus on what they can't do rather than focusing on what they can do. And, that experience really, really changed my mindset. And, over the past 11 years, that's something I've been advocating for, focusing on what they can do and tapping on their abilities. And even through the Special Olympics, that's what we do. We focus on their talent, we focus on their skills, and we encourage them to push their boundaries. And this is the same mindset we're trying to, implement with the Dubai Women's Run. For those of you who are not runners or, who are slightly hesitant, push your boundaries. It's all about coming together and knowing what your abilities are and getting comfortable with that and putting yourself out there to share your journey. I think it's all about having purpose and following through with that. What started off as a hobby grew into a passion, and I think that's what added a lot of value from my end. I remember starting off as a young teacher with very little experience and very little formal education. And when I walked into my first classroom, I had 12 young adults with disabilities, and I was just excited to be in the classroom. And I was sitting next to a student with Down syndrome, and he was trying to cut circles for our activity. And I remember I immediately leaned in and I was like, okay, I'll cut it for you. And he just looked at me, he's like, no, but I can do it. But I thought he was struggling with the activity, but he actually wasn't. He was enjoying doing that activity and doing it independently. And I think that's when it actually hit me that they have a lot of ability. They're capable of much more than what we think. And it was my own mindset that made me interfere with his activity. And when I had that realization, that grew into a passion. And that's when I was like, okay, they have the ability, they have purpose, we need to give them opportunities. And from then on, my mindset changed. And I was like, we need to tap on their abilities. We need to tap on what they can do rather than focusing on what they can't do. And I think that's what gave me a sense of purpose, and it has allowed me to add a lot of value in the special needs field in the UAE. And I think that's why I've been selected as a woman of substance. And thank you so much for the recognition. It means a lot. I think when you're able to add value outside and tap on to other people's lives, that's when you bring a lot of substance. And so thank you so much. So women's sports, I would say, is very important because as shared, when I was younger, I never saw as many women, talking about fitness and health. And, our overall well-being is very important. I'm a huge advocate on, mental health, but sometimes what we realize is our physical health is of utmost importance as well. And shedding light on that through every means possible is very, very important. And it's also very empowering when the younger generation will see a community of women coming together. That sense of belonging is what's so, so, so important. You have that network, you have that body of support, which, can take you a very, very long way. And I think that's what's so beautiful about this whole event. So I'm going to be very honest with you. My feet have trust issues with the floor, so I'm not much of a runner as well. But for anyone that's hesitant, you know, push yourself. Sometimes we create our own boundaries without actually knowing what we're capable of. And I've learned that from my students. So put yourself out there. You're going to be introduced to a great community. And like I said, there's going to be an entire body of support from people from different walks of life. So when you join this run, and whether you choose to run or walk, it itself will feel so empowering, and it's such a great achievement. So for anyone that's hesitant, don't think about the technicality about the walk, whether to run, whether to walk. Focus on why you want to participate in the event, and that itself will give you the answer. So I'm not a runner and I'm participating, so I hope to see each and every one of you there. But jokes aside, I think, why do you want to be part of Dubai Women's Run? I think it's about being part of this community that wants to empower womanhood, and that's your reason for participating. It shouldn't be the technicality about having to run or to walk. It's about the overall message. It's about women coming together to support each other and to shed light on this beautiful community, and this, the sense of belonging you achieve when you receive once you're part of this community is so, so beautiful. And that's why I would encourage every one of you, even if you have the slightest hesitation, I encourage you to participate, because the feeling you will get after you complete it, and when you see all those different faces from people of different walks of life, that's the empowering feeling that we want all our runners and walkers to feel. Empowering women is essential to social development of our community as a whole. So when we come together for this event, that sense of empowerment, sense of belonging is what will make this event so unique. And like everyone's aware, this is a one-of-a-kind event across the region. So we hope to see each and every woman and young girl out there. Growing up, I never really participated in marathons or different runs because I was always very hesitant, and quite often we would always see men in that figure running, and I always thought, oh, if I can't run, I can't participate. But what's more important is it's not just about the running or walking part, it's about why you want to participate in the event. What's the message that's coming across? And this is what's so different about this event. The message is about sisterhood, about womanhood, and coming together to share your journey, to have this whole sense of community, and also, to accept yourself for what you can do and put yourself out there. So when people ask me why special needs, I find it a very difficult question to answer, because quite often people have a personal story. And for me, it's nothing that's come from my family or a personal experience as per se. Like I shared, when I was in the classroom, I just felt that sense of need, and that passion just kicked in within that, no, I'm good at this, and they need me, and I need to make a difference in this field. I think it was my inner voice or calling, and that's why I do what I do. I think they need someone to advocate for them, which is quite unfortunate. They should be able to advocate for themselves, but and I think we are making that pathway for them. But initially, when I started and I was in the field about 11 years ago, a lot of advocacy had to be done for inclusion, and I just felt that calling is what gave me that purpose within the classroom and outside the classroom. And to be able to see them into different environments, whether it's in the workplace, inside the classroom, fulfilling their hobbies, but just having an overall sense of purpose for themselves is what you know is what gives me that satisfaction. And I'm aware that what I'm doing is right. As a Special Olympics board member, we use sports as a mean for inclusion and celebrating and recognizing their potential. And that's what's very, very important. Like, there's so many different means that we can tap on to show what they're capable of.